Welcome to REELaTVity. On this channel, I'll be doing movie reviews and recommendations from a real-world perspective, done in an immersive way that you hopefully haven't seen before. I also plan on eventually expanding into TV shows and other outlets once the channel begins to grow and I'm able to dedicate myself to it full time. This is the theater room where we'll be doing the reviews. The movie we're going to be reviewing today is Mud. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Mud is a 2012 drama starring Matthew McConaughey, Ty Sheridan, and Jacob Laughlin. Reese Witherspoon and Sam Shepard play secondary roles that tie a raw and authentic feeling storyline together. Ellis, played by Sheridan, and Neckbone, played by Laughlin, play two young teenagers, best friends who are street smart and know how to navigate adult situations. Rarely supervised and fearless, these foul-mouthed buddies constantly find themselves among fugitives, criminals, and gun-toting gangsters, seemingly all stemming from their encounter with a puzzling character only known as Mud, played by McConaughey. But from this encounter, both boys learn a lot about life, values, loyalty, and how love isn't always a two-way street. Neither have stable home lives and take to Mud almost like a father figure, especially Ellis. But this doesn't happen immediately. Like most, if not all relationships, both Mud and the boys must go through some trying situations to gain each other's trust. These boys begin to see that the adults in their lives are no role models and are just as flawed and messed up as anybody else. Their trust seemingly broken at every turn, they begin to see the harsh truth on how the world really works. Fed up with the selfishness, greed, and lies, they lean on each other, Mud, and an unlikely ally. Ellis's longtime neighbor, Tom Blankenship, played by Sam Shepard, an unassuming old man who seemed to be content living out his days in solitude. But there's more to him than meets the eye, as Ellis and Neckbone find out, as he's able to shed some light on the enigmatic Mud's past, as well as his own, leaving the boys to decide whether they want to keep their allegiance to their newfound friend or fall back given Blankenship's revelations. A tall task for most adolescents, but these two aren't like most kids their age. They show a strong sense of loyalty and a strong moral compass, which is never more clear than in a scene between Ellis and Blankenship in which he shows his loyalty to Mud, while also basically calling Blankenship a coward. And last but definitely not least, there's Juniper, played by Witherspoon, who, depending on whose perspective you're looking from, seems to be the first domino from which all this destruction stems. Have you ever had anyone that you felt you'd do anything for, but that same person knows it and takes advantage of you? That's Juniper, someone who loves to be chased but doesn't necessarily want to be caught. And it doesn't take long for Ellis and Neckbone to realize this. To Ellis, this is another disappointment he can relate to as he goes through situations trying to understand the women in his own life and how they all seem to be driven by selfishness more than anything. From his situation at home with his mother to what he thought was going to be his girl to Juniper, it hits Ellis pretty hard, which makes for a memorable scene when he reaches his breaking point. At the end of the day, this is a great movie, and I highly recommend it if you have not seen it. Solid performances across the board and a believable storyline, not to mention a few life lessons along the way. The main ones that stuck out to me were You can't judge a person because of the situation they're in. Even if it's self-inflicted, it's about their intentions. And Mud clearly had a heart of gold regardless of the predicament he was in. But what's good to you isn't always good for you. The second message I pull from this film is that sometimes who's riding with you isn't always clear until the you know what hits the fan. It might just be some people that you would have never expected. I don't know whether Mud had a bigger impact on the boys' lives or they did on his. But lessons can be learned at any age and from anybody. I'm not sure who said knowledge is knowing what you don't know or something like that. It's a hell of a quote either way, and I couldn't agree more. Role models aren't always wrapped up all pretty with a bow on top. Look at how people react when they're down and that things aren't going their way. To me, that shows their true character. People always like to try to guide you or give you advice, but to me, life itself is the best teacher. Admitting to and learning from your own mistakes while watching others' mistakes and trying not to repeat them is how you grow the way I see it. Mud, Neckbone, and Ellis are on different ends of the spectrum, but a class on life was definitely in session for all of them. My movie ratings and best performance award will be showing next, so continue watching until the end. Subscribe and like if you haven't already, and comments are welcome as I'll be looking to improve these reviews over time and possibly even taking requests. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next review.